I'm happy right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is great.
I like to entertain, and that gives me joy.
If you're able to put a smile on someone's face, that can make a really big difference.
I could have an ice cream right now. I'm happy.
Do you like me? I'm like, yeah, let's give it a go and settle down. Find what happiness looks for you in this moment of time.
We need to ask ourselves, does this thing actually make me happy?
Hey, my name is T, and welcome to Series 3 of Round Table. Now, in this day and age, we've all heard the phrase, do what makes you happy. But what does that really mean? I mean, is our generation truly happier than the generation before? Well, to discuss this today, I have an amazing panel, and we're gonna get right into it. I wanna know who here feels happy.
I'd say I'm happy. I think what makes me happy is doing the things that I want to do. I think I've lived so long of just doing things that everyone else expected me to do, or social media or expectations. And I think for me, finding happiness is just doing what I want to do, not what I think I should do or want other people want me to.
I wouldn't say like, oh, like I'm happy, like I am happy, but I think of happiness as something that fluctuates in life. I would say that I'm steady and stable in the sense of like my identity as a Christian. I feel like I'm always held in that. And then kind of, you know, the things that we go through in life, different emotions, I would be like, oh, happiness is the emotion. So do I feel it all the time? Not always, but it is something that, you know, I experience in different parts of different days. I think my relationship with it is a bit more kind of up and down, but ultimately as a person, do I feel safe and like, yeah, safe and happy and like joy of who I am? Yeah.
I love that. I love how you use the word fluctuate. Are there like certain triggers that you have that make it go up or make it go down? Or...
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think people are experiencing it every day, but for me as a, you know, professional athlete, you obviously play a game or you go to training, and often your performance, you know, if you're playing well, you feel really happy about it. Other people are like, oh, well, you know, did really well, that kind of thing. So I think often coming off the back of that, you have moments of really hard, like real highs and real lows. And I think for me, I'm trying to figure out how to remain in a place of being able to access joy all the time, even if situations or circumstances around me, either from myself, other people are saying, you know, oh, you should feel this way, or you should be really happy with that, or you should be happy with that. So it's how do I kind of have access to joy in all circumstances?
You know, I think in our lives, we realize that it can be quite difficult. So I think if you're just able to like put a smile on someone's face or make someone's day, that can make a really big difference. So I'd say helping someone is probably where I get most in the happiness from. Putting a smile on someone's face is like top one for you, top for me.
Yeah, when I think about what makes me happy, I think about the people that I'm with and what I'm doing. I think that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I really love like spending time with like my family. I'm an auntie, so I love spending time with my nieces and nephews. But also I really like what Ellie said about happiness, you know, coming and going, it fluctuates. I feel like that's the thing about happiness, because, you know, you can find it, you can seek it, but then it doesn't last. Then you're looking for the next thing that makes you happy. But then Ellie did also mention the word joy. And I feel like joy is something that is more constant. Because I feel like with joy, it's, in my mind, I see joy as like a constant gratitude and hope, that no matter what you're going through, even though it may be bad, it's almost like a steadiness that you can keep it. I feel like it's more, you can grasp it for longer compared to happiness.
Happiness is ephemeral. Like, it is such like a fleeting thing. Like, emotions in itself are always short term, you know what I'm saying? But there's like that separation between happiness and joy. Because like, I could have an ice cream right now and I'm happy. Let that joint fall, I'm not happy no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could be immediately sad. But like, I was happy in that moment because like I had this thing that like brought me like pleasure and like this happiness. So like, I'm thankful because there's a lot of things in my life like can make me happy. Like, of course, like there's friends that make me happy, there's family that makes me happy, you know what I'm saying? But like, God gives you joy. And bouncing off like what Tabitha was saying is like, with that joy, it doesn't matter if I don't feel happy, I can still have that anchor to hold on to, you know what I'm saying? I can still like move forward in my life, like regardless of like where I'm at. But I'm thankful for the moments of happiness because like, especially when I'm able to recognize them and like acknowledge it, like, it's like a very surreal thing. Like, I'm in a moment of happiness because like happiness is fleeting. So it's beautiful to like sit there, be present, whatever you're at, whether it's doing something that you love, being with someone that you love, or doing something that you enjoy. Just being able to sit there and be like, wow, like I'm happy. like today, I'm happy right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is great. This is fun. It's happy, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have
But
you.
what about you, T? How would you define it in your own life? Yeah, talk.
Oh, do you know what? I love what I do. Obviously, my job, I work in social media. I love, God is like blessing in what I do. And I find that I'm the most joyous when I am using the gift that he's given me to do what I enjoy, to bring joy to other people as well. I love entertaining people. I know what you said about making people happy, like, and make people smile. I love to entertain. And that gives me joy because I feel like I'm sharing a piece of myself with other people. As for happiness, well, I think joy is something that's given by God. I think happiness, you have to choose. It's a choice. You have to choose to be happy. And one thing I always say to people, I choose to be happy by seeing the beauty in mundane things. When I'm walking to the station, I'm looking at the flowers and smelling the roses. My friends think I'm whimsical, but I'm just like, I have to see the happiness and the joy in everything. Even when it's raining, you're like, oh, I love the smell of rain. I just love the smell of rain. So that for me makes me happy, even though I don't like to be in the rain. But I do want to, something that you guys have all touched on, I'm curious about. Do you think that this generation is happy?
I don't think it's up to like happiness or sadness. I think it comes down to peace. And it's almost biblical because I feel like, do you have peace when you're happy? And do you have peace when you're sad? I feel like it's quite difficult to like differentiate them things, but it's very easy to kind of think, oh, like life's really, really good now, but you might not have peace in that kind of situation. And also, if you have peace when I'm down bad right now, I'm struggling, life's not amazing, but you know what, I have peace that I'm gonna come out the other side of this.
The amount of friends that I have, like whether Christians or not, that I've been able to like be in discussions with them, and they just share with me their struggles, and it's like it's a consistent thing. You know what I'm saying? Like life isn't great, and then they have like a hiccup. Like it's always like consistently like I'm going through the motions a lot. So I think they'll have their moments where like, oh, today was a good day, but overall, like I've noticed that a lot of people around me, whether I know them or not, like people in this generation whole, like are just very depressed. And that's because like, you know, we live in an age where more information is being presented to us than ever before. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, 1708, them brothers were not on Instagram seeing what, you know, Cleavers is doing out in the farm. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's life was kind of to himself. So there wasn't a point of comparison, but now we have that. And we were in this space where we constantly find ourselves like comparing who we are to somebody else's like metrics and standards of like happiness.
Absolutely.
And when we see that that doesn't like balance out, we fall into despair. So if someone's able to go on holiday and we're not, we're like, am I doing something wrong? Someone has a great job and I don't, what's wrong on my behalf? So it's so hard to like hold on to like happiness, to hold on to joy if you can't be grounded in that peace that Zack was talking about earlier, because you just find yourself just like falling into a loop of like, I'm not enough, so why should I celebrate my life?
This is so true.
But you're always comparing yourself to the best versions of people as well. Like if you're looking at someone on social media, they're only showing the best 20% of their life. And so all you see is the best 20% of every single person's life. And you don't see the 80% where they may be struggling. Because if you look at your life, if someone was to look at your social media, they're thinking, oh, she's on holiday, or he's on holiday, or he's doing this, he's living it up, whatever. But as soon as they go into their room or they're by themselves again, life might be hard, or they might have just lost their job. So as humans, we're consuming the best 20% of everyone's life. So we're thinking, right, so this person's living up, this person's living up, this person's living up. I'm here struggling. And that's what makes life difficult, where if it wasn't like that, you kind of just, the only people that you kind of come into contact with are your friends, and that's where you can be more vulnerable.
Absolutely.
But it's so easy to like kind of compare yourself to other people, which is scary, but it's the reality of like the generation that we're in now on social media and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's funny as well, because even like if you do take social media, you know, the best 20%, often like that's also like fake and like curated exactly of like a picture or something. And then, you know, sometimes when you're on holiday with your mates and you see how long it takes to get one picture, and you know, there's like 10,000 and they're like, oh, which one's better? This one. You're like, it's the exact same photo. I don't understand the difference. But like they see such detail of like the flaws. And I think it just makes us hyper focus on, like say, any little thing where it's not perfect. And like now we're trying to compare lives to perfection 24/7, and that's just not reality and not attainable. And I think that's really hard when you perceive that other people are living a perfect life, or it perfect in this area. Like it's not realistic. It's not gonna happen. And so
I think also like there's so many options for our generation now. Like You can be an entrepreneur, you can be an influencer, you can be a like corporate baddie, you can like basically do what you want. Like the options are so, like the world is our oyster in a sense. And obviously there's like cost of living crisis, geopolitical instability, like there's so much also like real stuff that's going on in the world. And we're expected to function normally and achieve what we want to achieve and set our goals and be happy, whilst also coexisting in a world where there's just so much wrong and despair and sadness and grief going on. And I think there's also like with social media, it's created this narrative of like in your 20s or as like a young person, you should know what your purpose is. You should find your purpose, find meaning, find happiness. And then it feels like it's not this constant thing that we've spoken about. And then I'll have conversations with my friends and they're like, I don't like my job. I don't know what my purpose is. And like, it'll be like, oh my goodness, what's happening? And it's like, well, we don't need to know that. And like, it's gonna constantly change, but we feel like we have to have everything figured out now.
I agree. I have a theory. Social media, I don't think we're supposed to see this much of each other.
No.
But so that is my unpopular opinion that I stand by. I'm not supposed to know what you have for breakfast. I'm not supposed to know if your mom's 40th. I'm not supposed to know where you're going on holiday with your boyfriend. Like, I'm not supposed to see all of this. And it's so overwhelming. And I just don't feel like as a generation, we're supposed to be knowing this much about what we're doing. Because then it's like, okay, well, am I successful if I don't find my purpose at 20? Am I successful if I choose to wait until I'm in my 30s to have children, whatever? And I feel like the comparison stick is just too much. And I really feel awful for the generation after us. I feel so bad for them because luckily when I was in school, TikTok came around like COVID times. And that's when you really started to see people on social media. And like Instagram, you could just snap Skittles and it was fine. But now they're seeing the makeup trends, they're seeing what people are buying, what people are getting for their birthdays, vacations. And my cousin's 15 talking about vacation. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I feel like that generation is going to be a lot more unhappier.
It's not just like comparing to people as well. Like I'm eating a banana and I find, oh no, like this banana's processed now. Like there's so much information that you're getting.
Yeah.
That's like I'm even scared to like drink water now because this water's not right. And you know what I mean? And there's too much like information on everything.
Right.
Like you got an ache on my arm and I'm researching. I'm like, I've got like 2 weeks to live. Like, it's it's actually true. Like, I think it's actually terrifying. Like some of the things that you think like. So I think there's just so much information everywhere. I don't think as humans we're supposed to have that much information. Absolutely. Like in general. Like go doctors if you've got an arm, mate, man. Not like find it on Google. Don't ever Google diagnose yourself because I'm panicking every time I do. No, honestly.
Oh my goodness.
I think there's a flip side though, because I also think what we see now compared to the generation above us is we do have more freedom of like, oh, I'm not just going to get married and settle down at this point. I'm going to go to the other side of the world and live there for a couple of years, or I'm going to not have a normal job.
Of course.
I think, at least in sort of a lot of my circles, it's kind of like there isn't always this expectation of being married and having kids at this age, or you know, progressing to this career or knowing your career. Actually, you can jump around a few and you don't have to stay in one career. So I think there is a bit more fluidity even within that probably has benefited our generation.
I feel like most of everybody here also understands that like growing up with like ethnic parents, like there's that pressure. Even if you didn't have ethnic parents, you know what I'm saying? Like there's still that pressure regardless of like you have to make something of your life. So growing up with that was definitely something I dealt with. And I know spaces in my head where in my like late teens, I was like, I need to have my life figured out by like I'm 22. Like if I don't have a house, a car, and like at least one child by 22, it's wraps. Like I'm done. So I'm curious to know like now if any of y'all are in this space where you've placed this pressure upon yourself or if others have placed that on you.
I've not removed milestones. I think it's good to like have dreams and stuff, but I'm more trying to focus on like, right, is this for me? Is this what God wants for me in my life? And that is kind of scary as well, because I've always been a person that's like, all right, I'm the driver here. I need to kind of go where I want to go. Right. But like where that's made me end up is kind of like, oh, I don't really like being here now, or I met this human and it's a bit scary and I don't really like it. And like the more I dive into things of like God, it's like, wow, like this is just so peaceful and it's just so nice. Again, like life isn't always like that. Of course. But it's more of just like trusting what God has for me rather than trying to set my own milestones and my own goals and just trusting God really.
When you hit that point of realization, right, and you realize, okay, like these are things I have to let go, how is that process for you when you're like, I need to drop this?
It's hard because some things I let go of. I'm sure everyone's got a situation with a friend, a family member, ex, dare I say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's almost like you're kind of like thinking, oh, is this for me? Is this not for me? And all of these things. But I think as we all know, like if it comes in peace, it's from God, innit? So if anything's kind of giving you confusion or it's giving you pain, then maybe you just have to try and let that thing go. In the end, you kind of look back 2 years later and you're like, thank God. Thank God that prayer didn't get answered. Or, do you know what I mean? Or thank God that prayer did get answered. Or thank God you removed this person. But it's a step at a time, and it's just about building your faith and trusting as much as you can. You know?
Absolutely.
I think it's hard as like females as well, because you know, if you want to have a family and have kids, we got a clock. Like, and I hate to say it, but like we do. Like, I remember having this discussion with some other netballers, and you know, you kind of peak around the age of like 29 to 30, and like you often retire maybe like 33 to 35. And so for a lot of us, we're kind of coming to that realization of like, when do we want to have kids? Because, you know, the longer you leave it, the, you know, statistically harder it will be. You know, God will do what God wants to do. But, you know, do you have a kid, then do you come back into the sport? Because actually you can come back physically stronger after having a first child. Do you wait to retire? And so there's a lot of kind of questions over that. And then equally, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's still without your control, like having a partner or all of those kind of other logistical things that you actually need to like have a family. It brings a lot of like fear for a lot of people, or kind of, you know, do I pursue my career? Do I pursue my family? What's more important? So I think that's definitely something that's come to light for me over the past couple of years, just to think about.
That whole timeline thing, like, you know when they say on Twitter, at 25, your frontal lobe develops. Oh my goodness me. I have timelines and milestones. I feel like it's nice to know that by age XX, I want to have achieved, especially as someone who knows what I'm capable of. I'm always thinking, okay, I know by 25, I can be doing this. I can be hosting Love Island, ITV, be listening very well. And whether this is for children, whether this is for marriage. I know in my church, there's like quite a culture of being married and being married early. I kind of let that go last year, and I said, what happens when it happens? In Jesus' name. But I feel like when it comes to milestones and timelines, I think it's okay to actually tie something and say, by the time I hit this age, I want to have done this. I want my first property by the time I'm 30. But if it doesn't happen, what happens then? Will your happiness fluctuate? Will you be sad?
Timelines are a really interesting thing because it's about who sets those timelines. Like my biggest timeline was I was going to meet my person at 18, engaged by 24. I'm clearly not engaged.
And married by 27. And obviously that didn't happen. And like at the time,
I remember being like, even now, sometimes I'm like, this is really rubbish. Like, because it feels like this was like the map laid out for you, and like you then start to internalize it. Like, is it me? Is it me that's the problem? Did I not do enough? Am I on the wrong path? But then actually, if you take a step back or you look back in hindsight, you're like, wow, like that timeline shouldn't have worked out. Like I was supposed to be a lawyer, and obviously I'm not a lawyer, but like I fell into the mental health world. Like I wouldn't have known that I would be in 10 Downing Street having dinner with the Prime Minister because of that. So it's like, actually, the 18, the lawyer, the 18, 24, whatever timeline, like as much as that broke my heart, I wouldn't have experienced happiness in other ways. So I guess like it's built me into who I am, and like that resilience of like, you can't have certainty all the time. And like, I think one thing I wish I was taught when I was younger was that like change is inevitable, and like things are gonna really suck sometimes, and that's okay.
and like how you pick yourself back up and carry on going. And I think I do a lot of life in schools with young people, and they always say like, can you prepare me for like a friendship breakup or a relationship breakup, or what if I don't get the job? What if I don't get into university? And I'm like, to be fair, they're asking the right questions because
they are open to the fact that these things are very likely to happen.
How do you build them
the resilience so that even if they experience that momentarily like unhappiness, they know how to then find that happiness again.
I think resilience comes with experience though, innit? I think that's just how it is. Like, as sad as it is, like I feel like I've only ever seen the most growth in my life when I've been fighting battles, really. What I normally say is they're the moments where you're able to build your faith, and they're the moments where you're really able to learn who you are. Because when life's sunny and everything's amazing, it's so easy to like walk on that straight line. But like when your back's against the wall and you have to fight your way out, that's pretty much the only way to learn what you have to learn in whatever kind of situation it is. Life's seasonal as well, you know, like there's seasons when you're going to be living it up and having an amazing time. And there's also going to be times when you're down in the dumps, but that's what makes it beautiful, you know.
I feel like when you set all these milestones for yourself, or you have all these goals or whatever, and they don't happen, it actually really humbles you. And you're like, do you know what, God, I'm just gonna trust you. And it's like, when you start to trust God, you start to realize like, things happening that weren't even in your plan. They were just so much better that have now happened for you. And you just realize that, you know, the things that I think would be good for me or that I think I want right now is actually not really what I want. And God's plan is actually so much better because the way he sees things, his perspective is so different from my perspective. I'm seeing small, but he's seeing so much bigger. So I feel like it helps us to trust him more.
100%. And it's interesting, like, about the experience thing, because, like, for me, I have a younger brother, and he's Gen Alpha. He's just recently turned 11. So, like, I'm in a space where ever since I left the US, I'm obviously not physically there with him, but I try to be a good big brother, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't want him to go through things I had to go through as a child. So to the best of my ability, I try to be like, hey, you know, life is not always going to be perfect. And trying to at least set him up to have that awareness, because I wouldn't want him to grow up in this like blissful mindset where everything's perfect. You know, having that kind of like enthusiasm and just like eagerness. So I think experience is important, but you know, experience is the best teacher, but it doesn't always have to be yours. Like you can absolutely learn from somebody else.
I'm curious to how you've managed your happiness, like during low seasons, high seasons. Like, what's your experience?
I think I manage my seasons by realizing that they're seasons.
First stage, realization.
I don't know. Like, I think, again, my faith in God and my Jesus is growing a lot. So the Bible does talk a lot about seasons. Personally, I just feel like I've had some tough seasons in my life. And the more that I grow in life as like, just as growing up, but also growing my faith, I realize that like, you've done it before, so you can do it again. So when I'm looking at my life, I'm sitting there thinking like, all right, I've been here before now. So that's how I manage this kind of season that I'm in. Like, I try and just dive into like doing the things that make me the most happy. That is like helping people. That's like, where can I be useful? Where can I support people? But also, how can I do things that like lift me up? Because I always try and think, what's the lesson in the season that I'm in? So I think how I navigate the seasons in my life is trying to understand where I can learn from whatever it is that I'm going through. And then how can I now use this as fuel for whatever it is that I want to do next?
I think as well, like a lot of that, you know, when we speak about like, oh, I've gone through this so I can help someone else, but like, I think it's also really important that we allow help when we're in those seasons of like being really down. I think healing, especially in my life, has come through community and through also just like professionals who are trained in that area. You know, you work in mental health and again, like, as an athlete, some of the hardest things I think that you go through is actually more the mental side of stuff, not necessarily the physical. So I think, you know, I work with an England psych lady for the past couple of years who I meet with quite regularly, who has probably been the most impactful on my happiness within sport and navigating, you know, times that are great, times that aren't great, times that are just pretty mundane and there's no real change. So I think for me, like navigating it is with other people and in that space of being like, I don't have to do this completely by myself. Because often I think when you are in a place where it is dark and you feel lost and lonely and hopeless, you need someone else to come in and be like, no, it's okay, we're going to walk through these really big emotions that you have and know that there is someone else to help guide you through that. Because I think people struggle when they feel like there's no one to talk to about it. They don't know how to help themselves, but they know they need help.
Tanya, you work in mental health. Like, what are some of the tools and things that you give to people to encourage them to, quote unquote, find happiness?
So the reason I got into the mental health space was because of my own lived experience. And like you were saying, it's about, at the time, I was like, why me? Like, God, why me? But God gave me that so I could then go on and share it with people. And I always like to give the analogy of like a toolbox. Like, imagine you're like a handyman or a handy woman and you've got like a toolbox. And throughout your life, like you'll always put stuff in there, but you might take it out. Like what used to help me when I was a child, like running around the playground to find that happiness, I don't really do that anymore. Or like what used to help me.
I do, maybe do.
Or perhaps it's like people in your life, people come and go. Like if we're talking about happiness being like something that comes and goes in the same way the things that give us happiness come and go, they change. And I think sometimes we get so stuck on the thing of like, well, this thing used to make me happy before, but it doesn't make me happy now. Or this thing makes me happy now and it didn't before. And then we start to get so hyper-focused on finding happiness from specific things that we forget that happiness is fluid. Happiness is what we make it to be, whether it's peace, whether it's joy, whether it's calmness, whether it's that like eccentric energy. And that's what I always say to people is like, define and find what happiness looks for you in this moment of time. And that's going to change, and that's completely fine.
Where else have you looked for happiness? Maybe in the wrong places, maybe in an unconventional place, maybe in a not the best place. Is there anywhere that people, I don't mind going first. For me, it was going out with my friends, going dance. I love to dance. And for me, music is we're working on it not being my source of happiness. And I say this because I recognize that when I'm in a low mood and a bad mood, putting on a certain song or a certain artist, mine is Joe Boy, it's Afrobeats, my mood can go from 0 to 100 so quickly. And I remember thinking to myself, that's very powerful. The fact that music can get me from this lull, from this sluggish energy to now I'm on my feet, I'm ready to take on the world, tidy up my room. And I thought, oh no, even at the gym, I could not be on doing a set and then I put on a certain song. Add 10K, I'm there. But then I recognized that I kind of didn't want music to have that power to change my emotions and to make me happy. So is there anything that you guys have that you think, maybe I shouldn't be banking on my happiness on this source?
So obviously I got into the world of mental health because of my lived experience, but it got to a point where helping people and like sharing to help people became my only source of happiness. And that was a really hard place to be because I was like, this makes me really happy, but it's also not making me happy. And then it was like, I was like, okay, I actually need to find things aside from helping other people that make me happy. I think it's about getting that balance, right? Finding happiness within yourself. We tend to think of happiness as something external, something that's like brought towards us, but actually finding happiness within and then being able to share it outward.
No, because you spitting with that, like, I don't know about y'all, but there was an unintentional space in my life where I had a God complex. And like, shout out to my cousin, love Jeremy. He like pointed that out for me. Like we had just moved in together and we had this one night where we were just chopping it up on our dirty kitchen table for hours. And he helped me get to that point of realization. It's like, Jack, you have a God complex. You want to be this perfect Christian, so you're trying to be God in their lives and not letting God be God in their lives. And I was like, hey, yes. And I was like, because in my head, I couldn't be sad. I couldn't be depressed. I couldn't struggle with things. I couldn't have problems, like everything, like I had I still deal with it. Lust, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And like, that was something I reserved from everybody and their mama, because I was trying to be perfect. Like I wanted to present myself. I wanted people to look at me and be like, oh, know that he's a Christian and be like, man, like this guy's got it. Like maybe I need to be doing this. But it came out of a good place. So like, I found so much happiness in presenting God, quote unquote, instead of allowing God to, do what he needs to do. And like, since I've let that go, I've seen an immense difference in like how my faith has changed and like how my happiness has changed as well. Because like, I don't depend on myself and create this image, like I have to be this perfect Christian for everybody, Christian or not. And it's been so much better because now I'm in a space with like, I don't know how honest y'all are with people, like closer out, but vulnerability has brought me so much happiness. Like just being transparent about the stuff that goes on in my life and just being like straight up with people.
I love what you said there about perceptions and like sometimes you want people to perceive you a certain way. And it's like, I don't know if you guys have heard this quote. I love this quote, I love this quote. But it goes like, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And I feel like sometimes we work so hard and we try so hard to make people perceive us in a certain way so that if they perceive us that way, we can perceive ourselves that way. Yep. And I think that even ties into happiness, what we started talking about, because it's like, sometimes we need to ask ourselves, does this thing actually make me happy, or does it just make me look happy to other people or to seem happy to other people?
Do you know what? I'm slowly trying to bring myself to a place where I'm like, I'm as good as I can be as a flawed human. Yeah. Rather than me trying to be like a God complex, like you were saying, with me, I'm trying to be perfect. I'm trying to show everyone how good I am. Like, I ain't perfect. I'm struggling out here as much as everyone else, but what I am trying is to be as good as I can be. Yeah. Which is like the best place that I feel like you can be as a human.
When we look at our parents or, aunties and uncles that got married young, do you sometimes feel that pressure that you need to do the same thing?
I think I'm happier because I had the choice to do what I wanted to do. So I didn't go to uni. That was a big, And I did an apprenticeship instead, went straight into work. And now my career is in social media. That wasn't an option for them. It wasn't even an option 5 years ago. But I'm happier because I got the option and the opportunity to do what I wanted to do. But they didn't, they had to do what they had to do. But in terms of them being happier, I think they had a better quality of life because things were just mapped out. It was step 1, you meet your husband or your wife. Step 2, you have children. Step 3, you have your house. Like, it was very mapped out for them. But now I think I'm happier because I've got the choice to explore what it is I want to do. I hate this phrase so much, but do me. I get to do me in the way that I want to, and I have more option, I have more choice. But I think for them, having that mapped out expectation, quote unquote, make things easier for them because it was either you passed or you failed. You either got married and had a family and kids or you didn't. So you were happy with that or you weren't. So I think the happiness is relative because I'm using a different scale to what they use. According to their scale, it might not be happy, but I'm great where I am. Yeah.
That's really interesting. For me, it was like my parents didn't have the choice to be happy. They struggled a lot. They lost their parents really young. Like it was having to take up all this responsibility. Like my dad came from India to the UK and like built up a life. So objectively, growing up, I was like, I have an education. They didn't have the choice to pursue an education. I'm able to have food on the table, shelter. Like I don't have to worry about anything. So I was like, compared to them, I'm living a happier life. But what I felt really guilty about was the times that I didn't feel happy. Because I was like, why do I not feel happy when I have everything that they didn't have that made them have an unhappy life? And I think oftentimes that whether you're like from an immigrant background or you come from a underprivileged background and you're seeing yourself getting opportunities and doors open that perhaps other generations didn't have, that pressure of being happy and like, yeah, it feels like you've just been served happiness and why are you not feeling it or why does that happiness fluctuate, as you said?
It's like when the parents saying, well, what do you have to be depressed about?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You don't know what we went through.
Well.
But I think as well, like a lot of the focus of those two bits were on like, you know, relationship and finding people. And I think we're probably the worst generation for being able to do that because like you say now, there is so much choice and everything is so more superficial and all that kind of thing. So in some ways, I think they had it potentially better of like just kind of accepting people for their flaws and being like, I'm not going to find someone that's perfect. And do you like me? I'm like, yeah, let's give it a go and just settle down and all that kind of thing. So I think we, you know, go back to social media and that kind of thing. We're now again trying to attain something that's unreachable. Whereas it has its benefits of freedom of, you know, not feeling that you have to do something at a certain time or whatever. But I think equally for other people who do want the marriage that their parents have or that they've seen from other people, and when that feels like that's really hard to get, and why is that really hard to get? And you know, why they just met and everything was fine, and they met, they dated, they got married. Yeah. And like for a lot of people, that's not the case, or they're struggling to do that. So I think they probably had it better in some things, and I think we probably have it better in other things as well.
Absolutely.
No, for sure. Like, I know some of y'all relate to this, but like personally, my parents are immigrants. So like my mother and my father had two very different routes. Like I'll say for sure, my mom was just either comparison to my dad's, but like I grew up like hearing stories of like how it was when they first immigrated to the US, how their life was and like what the cultural differences. It's like, that's the hugest thing. It's like culturally, like what their standard was at that time. Because obviously that shifts, but there's gonna be moments like as a parent, you'll naturally take your tendency is to take what's traditional to you and imbue that into your children, because obviously like these are your kids, like these are your descendants, like you want to instill these principles into them. But there's things within those cultures that need to be let go of. And as well, like being an immigrant like myself, all the more understanding, because they know exactly like what I'm going through. Like they went through it in a more difficult period than me, you know what I'm saying? Like now we live in this era of like social media and like everything's more accessible, like things are quote unquote easier to a degree. But with that, like, my parents know that there's a difference between my time and their time. Okay. And it puts off so much stress. And like, I'm so grateful to God for that. But it was definitely difficult at first because as a kid, they have their own business. They wanted me to take that business. For years, they were like, no, you're gonna run this business. Like once you're age, keys are yours, you know? So being able to like have that understanding, like that, definitely be able to empathize with them as well. Like this was your normal and this is my normal. Like being able to like create a distance like in that space, but also being able to have those conversations and have that understanding, like we're different, you know? And I'm just so thankful that.
Quick fire question. Are we more half glass full or half glass empty?
I see.
Okay, Jacques, we'll start with you.
For sure half full, because like, yes, there's some space that doesn't exist, but there's still something in this cup. And like, that's what I perceive. Obviously, as an artist, there's like negative space that gets used and there's like space that's filled. But when it comes to this and like life as a whole, I'm like, I still have something in my cup.
Me, I like to be optimistic. So we are half glass full. And yeah, I think even though you may not be where you want to be, you know that you've come so far already. And I think just appreciating where you are, looking to the future, appreciating the past, and just knowing that your story, everything is working together. Yeah, I love that. Zack?
Full glass, not even half.
Oh,
honestly.
okay.
I think if you got God in your life, I think your glass is always full. Even if it feels like it's even half full, even empty, I think God can fill that.
Absolutely.
Psalm 23. Cup overflows.
Come on.
Let's go. I think I fluctuate. I think different days or different moments, I might wake up and feel it's half empty and be like, actually remind myself that it's half full. Going back to the whole, like, in terms of faith and being, you know, held and feeling secure in that 100%. But I think when you do have dreams and desires and things you want to accomplish that haven't happened yet, you're like, oh, like I want to reach that next thing. And again, athlete mindset is always like progress. What's the next thing to do? So I think there are times when I probably am half empty and I'm like, actually, it's fine. You're half full.
Like that. Half full. And I think it's about like, it might be the things in my cup are not what I actually want. Like maybe I don't want water in my cup. And that's so fine. I'm grateful because what's in there is there for a reason. Yeah. And having that half full means that it's open to more and more opportunity.
Absolutely. I love that.
I like that.
Now, these are really good answers, especially everyone's got a different interpretation of what it means. What kind of takes a dip at your happiness? Is there something that happens in your life that takes it from 100 to like 50?
Comparison.
Ooh. Yeah.
Whether it's forced on me or I'm leading that comparison. I think as soon as I deviate from that internal, what do I want? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? That is always the thief of my happiness.
I think for me, like being in a rush to get to the next thing, like I want to like enjoy where I am, knowing that there's good still to come, but like enjoy being present and what's here, because when you move to the next season, that's not going to be the same.
Ironically, I think my dip in happiness is synonymous with my distance from God. And I'll try everything. I will try a banging gym, going back to the plan, trying to hyper-organize my life. But knowing that I'm distant from not having that communication, just not having that intimate relationship, my happiness has this kind of dip. And it's like the answer's there all the time. Just get back close to him, talk to him again. And it's like, for some reason, my brain doesn't clock it. And then when I did, I was like, oh, I should have done this. This should have been step number one. But I think that is something that dips in my happiness. So kind of what you said, I think you said comparison. I think it's knowing where I can be and where I want to be, but that timing and that sense of like wanting to rush and just get on with it, sometimes it can take a shot at my happiness, but focusing and recentering myself and reminding myself that it's not in my timing, but in his timing, the happiness and the joy and the focus always comes back after that. Zack, what about you?
I feel like when I'm comparing, I'm taking myself away from God. So as soon as I start comparing, I start thinking, wow, I should be where this guy is and I should be where this guy is. And then that's me kind of taking away from where God's got me, because you're exactly where you're supposed to be at that point in time. And like we spoke about seasons, I mean, I'm in exactly the season where God wants me to be. But because I'm now comparing to this person here or this person here or what these people are doing here, I'm now taking away what God wants for me. Yeah. And I'm trying to take footsteps to get to where that person wants to be. But you don't even know what that person has done to get to where they want to be. You don't know. He might have been praying for 10 years. Or he might have done something illegal to get there. I'm sitting, you know, whatever it is, like for good or for bad. And I'm kind of sitting there looking at, oh, why can't I be where this guy's going? This guy's killed 2 people to be there. That's what I'm trying to say. But like for me personally, when I'm comparing, I'm almost trying to say, oh God, like you should be having me there, but that guy is not where I am right now.
For me, like feelings of failure, like maybe if I felt like I failed in like my career or failed in like my relationships or even like my relationship with God, maybe it's not gone the way that I hoped it would go. And I feel like that can make me unhappy because it like makes me feel a way about my self-esteem and the way that I see myself.
Amen. Glory.
Jacques?
I love for me is, my main thing is jumping into a reality that doesn't exist. So if I'm like, sure, this happened, but what if I had done this instead? Like, what if I like was here on this moment? What if I said this thing instead? What if I reacted differently? And like, it just creates scenarios that never existed.
Yeah.
And then I put myself in a position where I was like, things could have been better if I just did this thing. But the thing is, like, it's done. Like, it's already done. Like, there's no going back. There's no like retracting it. Like, I'm not rewinding time just to like reset that moment. So I do my best to just be present and stay fixated in where I'm at now. Obviously, I still struggle, you know, like I'll still have the difficulty of it, but because I'm learning to be like reorienting my mind to be more focused and just be more present, like I've been able to find more happiness within that. With that being said, I want to know for y'all, like when you are in these periods of like drought, storm, whatever title you want to give it, how do you navigate out of that to bounce back into those moments of like happiness, joy, peace, whatever title you want to give it?
For me, it's reminding myself of who God has called me to be. So sometimes who I am in the moment doesn't necessarily reflect who God wants me to be. And it's like, what does the future need? What does she look like? What would she do in this situation? And I'm very goal-oriented. So kind of getting focused back on the goal, the purpose, that for me gets me out of that sluggish, that lull, that sense of unhappiness into, okay, I can get excited about life again because God wants me to be doing this and I can be focusing on this and working towards this. So how I do it is just reminding myself of what's the plan, what's the purpose, how do you get back on track? And it's okay to fall off sometimes.
Yeah, I think first you've got to be aware that you're in that place of like, oh, actually, you know, I think having a bit of self-awareness or having friends that can hold you accountable and be like, oh, you know, how are you? Or even just friends that ask you how you are. So you have to reflect, be like, oh, actually, how am I? Like, what has happened the past couple of weeks? How am I feeling? You know, just a moment to kind of like check your emotions and check where you're at.
I think for me, it's about reminding myself that I don't need to earn happiness. I think I'm always like, I need to be doing more. I need to be being a better person. I need to be this version of myself. I need to make others happy and then I can be happy. And just being like, hey, like, I am enough the way I am and I can just let myself be and sit in this and find happiness in myself and what's around me right now. Like being comfortable with this stillness, I think I always have to bring myself back to that because when you're searching for happiness, you then start doing all of these things and looking outwardly.
I think for me, it's just patience and just sitting in it. I'm just very big on, I've been there before and you've got me through it before and you'll get me through it again kind of thing. I think that's just what life is, man.
I think like when we think about, you know, when we're down in the funk, a lot of it is in our minds. It's a war in our minds, literally. And the way I see it is that like, if all of this stuff is going on in your mind, you need to get it out because it's just trapped there. You need to release it. And I feel like talking to someone, talking to people, having that community, it really, really does help because someone can give you a little bit of happiness or encourage you. But the reality of it is that sometimes, you know, there's no one that's going to be there 24/7 for us. And that's why I always love to pray about it, whatever's in my mind. I love journaling and it really helps me to see like what's in my mind and to really explain how I'm feeling because sometimes it's like, I want to tell God how I'm feeling, but I can't explain it. Like, I don't even know. But then when I journal, the clarity is coming and the answers are coming. I'm like, wow. So journaling really, really helps me. Prayer really, really helps me. And also going on walks really, really helps me. Like walking, I'm sure there's some study that even tells you that, physical activity, walking, being in nature, that it helps your mental health. It helps you to relieve stress.
Thank you guys so much for this conversation. It has been so enlightening and just hearing your encounters, your experience on the topic of happiness is such an important thing to talk about, especially in this day and age. So I just want to thank each and every one of you.
Thank you too, Miss T.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Roundtable with 48 TV.